What's up, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. In this video, I'm going to be going over the overall crypto market value, and then I'll be going over into a number of charts for Bitcoin. But everything right now looks phenomenal. If we look here at the total crypto market value, you can see that not only has it broken this lower descending resistance I've been pointing out recently, but it's also sitting right precisely on the horizontal resistance right here at approximately 2.8 trillion, having wicked up recently to approximately 3 trillion. Actually, at this point, it's not hasn't quite set a new all-time high, but it's getting very, very close to doing so. And my projection in terms of where this is going to go hasn't really changed. I think anywhere from around like 10 to 16 trillion, maybe even at highest pushing like 18, 19, 20 trillion. But I do think anywhere from around 10 to 16 trillion is quite reasonable. And right now we just need to really see it solidly get above the 3 trillion that corresponds to the prior all-time high. If you look here at the 6-hour chart, you can just clearly see how well Bitcoin's been doing recently. At this point, it has topped out at $89,666, so very close to 90,000 at this point, basically already there. The RSI is quite oversold at this point. It's sitting basically right at the same value it was back when it was around 64,000. It's certainly sitting right now at around 6 or 90 on the RSI. So there's definitely room for it to need to cool down, and it looks like it might be doing that currently with the current 6-hour candle. Technically it could retrace all the way down to this low, what was the resistance this entire time, these last like 9 months. So far it seems to have already found support on it, but it definitely could. I mean, there's these volume control candles back here that were never recovered. So, I mean, it could come down to approximately 68K, but it also could just come down somewhere around approximately 79K or around like 80 to 84K as well. I mean, considering that it seems to be in a very strong and volatile breakout right now, entering the last leg, which is historically the most volatile and parabolic period of Bitcoin bull markets. At this point, I mean, if you're trying to, short Bitcoin, or you're trying to just wait for that, that tiny swing low to a local low to catch, some more gains, with how volatile Bitcoin has shown itself to be in periods like this during its bull market, you're trying to, I mean, might not necessarily be the best option. I mean, it seems to be on quite a large run here, so I mean, might just be better just to try to just put your money in and watch it ride up as it, I think heads upwards towards approximately 200K, as I've been saying. If you look here at the daily chart, there's also a red candle forming here. So again, like I said, I mean, this also vector volume candles goes all the way down to 69K, just slightly above the resistance here that it recently broke, and seems, like I said, to have found support like right along here. But I mean, Bitcoin is up from November 4th, so like the right around the election, how important that is for the cryptocurrency space, and Bitcoin has been up since then 35%. And like I said in a prior video, the pro Bitcoin, pro crypto candidate won, which really just spells even better things for the cryptocurrency and blockchain solution space over the next 4 years in America. Looking here at the 2-day, went over this as a new chart recently, but you can look down here as I was pointing this out. Seeing the RSI break above these Bollinger Bands is going to be very important. It has done that and is looking very similar to how it did back in October, November of last year, as Bitcoin was breaking out for the second impulse of this bull market that we can see here in its entirety since the end of 2022. If we look here at this 4-day chart, just still continuing to look great. Everything is just, all the resistances, everything's been broken. And the RSI currently sits at around 67, getting, about halfway back up to around 74, which was where the prior local high was at around 74K. So again, like I said, especially on this higher time frame chart, on the 4-day, on the daily and the 6-hour earlier, it looked as if the resistances descending or horizontal had already been retested and turned into support, but we have not seen this, as you can see here on this 4-day chart. And these vector candles just happen to line up perfectly with this horizontal resistance here. So, we could see Bitcoin, maybe it goes up a little bit higher, maybe it hits 100K, and then it decides to have a retracement here down to approximately 60K. Recovers these vector zones and this volume control, and then it continues to move higher here. And then also gets that retesting of the horizontal resistance right here as it continues to move higher towards the upside. If you look here at this weekly chart, again, this looks phenomenal. There's still the room also in this higher time frame to see that move down to like 69, 70K potentially to retest the resistance that was broken out recently. RSI still looks great. Everything, just in general, I mean, it's going to be the kind of what you're seeing here on every single one of these charts. Here on this weekly chart, same thing here. RSI still looks great. Just going to quickly update these because I've been going over all of these recently. If you look down here at the stock RSI, we can see that the stock RSI is finally, for the first time, starting to push above the median. And it can going back to the beginning of this bull market in 2022 when this was happening. This is when the bull market began. When this was happening, this was when the second impulse right here of the bull market was really starting to ramp up and increase its volatility. If you look down here at the MACD, you can see it's furthering its breakout from this symmetrical convergent action or trading that it was showing, that I was pointing out to in a recent video. If you look down here at the RVI, you can see that it's encroaching the upper bound of the region that it starts to enter as a impulse is beginning, and then as it starts to get towards, pushing like 98 to 100 on the RVI is when you'll start to see Bitcoin topping out, printing divergences in order to see it die out. Even the price might be going up higher, but these divergences are printing on the indicators and the derivatives showing that even though Bitcoin's continuing to go up, it's about time to start scaling out. And we're also seeing this cross here as well. And I went over this quite in depth in a video quite some time ago, but this is very important to see this flipping bullish again once more. We move in here to this weekly chart. Again, seeing basically all the same things here. RSI still looks great. Price obviously looks great. If you look here at this 2 weekly chart, and I haven't went over this chart in a while, but the first time I went over this chart was somewhere within the time frame of this bubble. I believe it was either like December 2022, like January 2023. And the statement I was making about this chart in that video was this right here. Bull run begins no later than approximately February 13th, 2023, meaning it could have begun before that, but I was just saying, due to what I was looking at and the data I was seeing at the time, February 13th is a very important date from what I'm seeing, and I think the bull market is going to have, you will be able to tell that the bull market has begun by February 13th, and that ended up happening. So far, we've seen Bitcoin trade up from this bear market bottom, $15,000, $16,000, upwards towards this median right here, you can see, and as Bitcoin hit 74K, it saw some rejection, and we've been trading sideways, and now with this recent price movement, Bitcoin is just ever so slightly below the median of this ascending channel, which finds relevance going all the way back to, as you can see here, 2013, when Bitcoin was hitting around $1,000 to $1,200. And I'll go over how important this ascending channel is here in a moment. But right now, Bitcoin is getting closer towards this median again. And either it's going to see rejection, significant rejection, and maybe, Bitcoin's not about to go buck wild just yet. But that's not the view that I hold. But if it starts to get above, this median sits basically at approximately 88,000, so really 90,000 to round it up to a whole psychological value. 90,000 is going to be important for Bitcoin to get above on this 2 weekly chart. And as soon as it can close above 90,000 and close above this median, then it could potentially see a quick move up towards, approximately 200K, give or take $30,000, as I've been speaking about for many months at this point. But when it comes to this ascending channel, you can see on here, you can see that going all the way back to right here. So we see right here, we see December of 2012. So we see the ending right here, phase 1 of cycle 2 is ending. We see the peak of phase 1 right here. Phase 2 begins, and we see rejection with respect to this portion of the ascending channel with these blue trend lines. And we see this bear market begin right here, accumulation period. Bitcoin then starts to build upwards, comes back into the blue range of this ascending channel, finds short-term resistance at the upper bound, comes down to the lower bound, finds support, and then jolts above it up towards this red range that extends out here for the upper bound of this ascending channel. So we've seen here, we saw rejection that got flipped into support, and then we saw the all-time high right here at approximately 20K during the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. This was the end of cycle 2 for Bitcoin, and this is also corresponsive to the phase 2 as well. Phase 2 would be here from 2013, end of 2013 to end of 2017. And then once this happened, we then see rejection at the red. Bitcoin comes down, makes a first bottom here, 2019, 2018, and it is showing support here along the blue range, which was prior to this mostly resistance. They got flipped in support. Now it's upholding that support. We see the median is met when Bitcoin trades intermediately in 2019 up to around 13K, finds a rejection into the March crash. We see the second bottom here again in the blue range. Then the price jolts up to the upper bound in the red range up to 64K, and this right here is the W pattern that I was speaking about in my altcoin video, which is separate from this video, but it's also uploaded by the time you'd be watching this one. Speaking about how we see this phase cycle theory of Bitcoin that I've gone over, or the epic theory that I've gone over. It's a model for Bitcoin that I've gone over in this channel many times, translate into the altcoins, but that's not the point of this video. Ultimately, what we see here is this massive W for the phase 1 of cycle 3 here for Bitcoin, the W structure that's inherent to phase 1 overall for Bitcoin, finding its double bottom support in this blue range. Bitcoin then comes up, makes a double top. So the inverse of the double bottom. Ultimately, what we're seeing here is a massive W pattern bullish and a massive M pattern bearish. So we have double bottom here, double top. M's are double tops, W's are double bottoms. And then once we see this double top in the upper bound of the ascending channel, we see then the bear market comes all the way down to the blue range once more, and then so far has found support. And now we are currently where we are here for Bitcoin, and like I said, pushing upwards towards around 200K, give or take $30,000 is what I think is going to be where the top is for Bitcoin. And then something like this is where I think it's going to roughly look like heading into 2030, which is going to be the third iteration, cycle 3's version of phase 2 of Bitcoin, which is going to just, I think, look something roughly like this. So again, we'll just see a repeat of what happened from 2013, end of 2013 to end of 2017, when Bitcoin went from around 1,200 to 20,000. We'll see that repeat in cycle 3, but it will just take longer to happen. You know, the lengthening of the cycles and the phases, the bear markets are becoming less bearish and the bull markets are becoming less bullish as Bitcoin ages, as it matures, as it decays over time, and it just doesn't have as much strength behind it as it did when it was in its younger days, which is just generally quite comparable to the human experience and the human condition that we all face in life. Last thing I want to point out here for this chart is that I do think as Bitcoin heads into its upcoming all-time high, and then I think the upcoming bear market of phase 2 and cycle 3 will bottom out somewhere approximately 50K. If I do zoom in here, we can see currently that all the volume vector candles for this current bull market at lowest goes all the way down to approximately 28K. At highest, it is 60K. So approximately, well, I'll just round that 28K up to 30K. So approximately 30 to 60K is the broad range where I think Bitcoin will bottom out heading into its next bear market. And I think it will more likely respect this upper vector candle right here, which only goes down to around 47K. So again, like I said, I think approximately 50K will be the next bottom for Bitcoin's Bitcoin's bear market, and the bull market top somewhere around 2030, give or take roughly a year. I think we'll see Bitcoin head into a range of around 1 million to 1.4 million. And then actually, lastly, I do want to point this out is you can see here on this chart is these turquoise candles. So right here, and these hot pink candles right here, you see the turquoise candles here, 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 and here, and here. So these will start to print as Bitcoin is getting closer and closer to its all-time high, which corresponds to this turquoise zone down here towards the upper bound of this RSI. And once these start to print This will be really the final stretch, as I just demonstrated, as it's done every single time in the past. This will be the final stretch for Bitcoin. And if we start to see these appear as Bitcoin's hitting 150K, 100K, and getting to 200K, 230K, then this will further validate everything I've just been saying about this chart and what I've been saying about Bitcoin for quite some time. Stock RSI is also flipping bullish. Great to see. If we look down here at the MACD, it's also recently flipped bullish as well. This is the 2-weekly chart, so this is important to be seeing these things. And the RVI is getting closer and closer to breaking its Bollinger Bands, which I think it will do over the next few weeks, especially within the next within the rest of this year. I mean, I think at this point right now, Bitcoin's on pace to go to 100K or maybe even up to 120 to 130K by the end of this year, or maybe the first month of next year. This 2-weekly chart's continuing to look good. The RVI, or the RSI rather here, like I said, just got this bullish cross of the Bollinger Band median recently. Still is moving upwards, moving higher, and it just needs to continue to go higher and start to break these Bollinger Bands to really start to see some more strength here in the price. Here, then the election chart that I was pointing out, like, I mean, every single time we've seen an election for Bitcoin, I mean, said this many times, but this is just really important. I mean, at this point, I don't know if, I mean, if there's still any genuine bears out there, if you still genuinely think Bitcoin can just dump massively from here, I don't really see how. I mean, it's still possible. Obviously, anything could happen, but at this point, so much has happened, and Bitcoin looks so good right now. And also the inflows, like the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF is now, you know, worth more than the gold BlackRock ETF, and the Bitcoin ETF hasn't even been out for a year, and within less than a year, it is worth more than the gold ETF, which has been out for multiple years. I mean, this is absolutely wild. This is, as I mentioned recently as well, I mean, the ETF, the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF is growing at a pace that's faster than the internet and faster than, I believe it's cell phones, or maybe it was something else, television, but you know, all of the technologies that just accelerated, had an exponential growth. Bitcoin is outgrowing them with the current data. It's moving at a growth rate faster, and I think for very good reason. Look here at this chart, this 3-week chart. I have not gone over this. This is a chart that I think is very eye-opening. So really, you see each of these 3 yellow zones here, and they look quite symmetrical, and they are very symmetrical. They're like very close to approximating some sort of Fibonacci-based scalar factor. As you can see, obviously this one's, you know, let's say size A, and then size B is by some factor that's close to a Fibonacci number bigger than the first one, and then the same relationship would apply from 2 to 3 or 3 to 2. And that's what I've been saying within the last few videos, the last few months. As you can see here, that the first impulse of this Bitcoin bull market here, so impulse A, impulse B, and then here we see impulse B. Each time we've seen these impulses, they've gotten larger by a factor that is approximating Fibonacci values, specifically the 618 to like the 786. If we look back at this first break in this bull market right here, as soon as this happened on this is the 3-week chart, as soon as this happened, the bull market was absolutely confirmed, and that's exactly what we're seeing right here. We're still waiting, seeing this current candle turn into a white high volume vector candle will further confirm this, but everything right now is pointing to an absolute confirmation that Bitcoin is heading into its final impulse of the current bull market. And I think it's going to look something similar to this turquoise pattern here. I think we'll likely see Bitcoin head towards approximately 110,000, give or take like 10, 15K. Perhaps see some retracement down to anywhere around like, you know, maybe 90K roughly, you know, at lowest. Maybe wick a little bit below that, but I think 90K will probably end up holding, assuming we get this kind of midway retracement, which you've actually seen it in each of these, you know, impulse A and impulse B. If you were to go down to lower time frames, as I have in prior videos, you see that basically each of these bull markets have been characterized by some sort of ABC looking pattern, where we see an initial impulse, consolidation, and the second impulse. You saw it in the second one, and I think we're going to see it in this third one a little bit more clearly, because it's going to take longer to play out, in this intermediate healthy correction or consolidation will a little bit be more pronounced than it has in these prior 2 instances. And then also, if we look here at this upper resistance connected to the wicks, it also leads into around 230K by around the end of June of this year, which is, I think, at latest roughly when we'll start to see Bitcoin top out at this point, within that first, you know, 6 month, that first half of 2025. If we look down here at this RVI, we can see that it's getting very close to breaking the Bollinger Bands, and the last time this happened was when Bitcoin was breaking above this prior resistance during impulse B. So seeing this RVI go above the Bollinger Bands will just add further fuel to this fire. The stock RSI is also flipped bullish as well, and we're also seeing the RSI head up toward this green Fibonacci level, which every time it gets into that range and higher is when we start to see it go quite parabolic. The volatility ramps up, and as soon as it's starting to really kind of exit this range is when it's starting to die out in strength towards the upside. Looking here lastly at this 12-month chart, this really just paints the entire picture. I went over this many videos ago, but also similar to the bullishness of the elections, if you look at the halving years, which the elections happen in, perhaps, coincidentally, or perhaps, by ordered structure, maybe Satoshi did that for a reason. Maybe he, it just coincidentally happened. Who knows? But if you go all the way back to 2012, looking at the first halving for Bitcoin, this is a yellow year. And we go fast forward one more year, we have a white year, then a black year, then a purple year. And then the cycle repeats every 4 years. We have a halving year, a yellow year, white year, black year, purple year, so on and so forth. And you can see how every single year that is white, so we have 2013, 2017, 2021, each of these years have been the all-time highs for phase 1 or phase 2, the two major peaks of the 4 total peaks in a Bitcoin cycle. And this projects the next all-time high for Bitcoin within the year of 2025 being a white year, pushing, according to this resistance on here, as high as approximately 240K, which is very close to that upper bound of around 230K that I've been mentioning, which is also derived from a historical Fibonacci extension applied to going all the way back to 2012. So, I mean, everything, again, just to really sum all this up, Bitcoin looks fantastic. The BlackRock Bitcoin ETF has been breaking wild records recently. The inflows are ramping up to a level that we haven't seen, and they were already high earlier on this year when it first got approved. But right now, I mean, also just being in Q4, everything just looks absolutely phenomenal for Bitcoin. And at this point, again, my videos are not meant for financial advice, but I mean, if I have to say anything at this point, if you're even questioning getting into this market, you just need to go ahead and buy, because I mean, you could go to sleep and wake up tomorrow and Bitcoin's at 100K, and a lot of the altcoins you could be buying right now have jumped up by hundreds, if not thousands of percentage points. But all that being said, and everything gone over, as always, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.